She said it so casually, as if it were nothing, a joke thrown into the air. Her lips curved into that half-smile she used whenever she wanted to push my buttons. "You know I can replace you fast," she said. The words cut through the room like a sharp wind, precise and deliberate. I looked at her, really looked at the woman I once thought I could never lose. And in that moment, I realized I already had. Her name was Claire. We'd been together nearly 5 years. What began as an intense, fiery connection had slowly cooled into something distant, predictable, cold. We used to talk about everything: dreams, fears, the small absurdities of life. But lately, every conversation had turned into a contest of who could hurt the other first. That night, we sat in the living room. She scrolled through her phone, barely glancing at me. I had cooked dinner the way I used to when we first moved in together, but her plate remained untouched. The aroma of garlic and rosemary filled the room, but the silence between us smelled like something burning. "You're quiet again," she said, still absorbed in her phone. "I'm just tired," I replied. "Tired of me?" she teased, smirking without looking up. I sighed. "You really want the honest answer?" Finally, she lifted her eyes, that reckless, playful light flickering in them. "Please," she said, like she knew she already had the upper hand. Then she said it, that single line that cracked something deep inside me. "You know I can replace you fast." No hesitation, no guilt, just the confidence of someone who thought she could never lose. I stared at her, feeling a subtle shift inside. The usual anger didn't come. No shouting, no breaking things. Just a quiet calm, the kind that settles when the last fragment of hope finally dies. "Then don't waste time," I said softly. Her smirk faltered for just a moment. She blinked, caught off guard by my composure. For a split second, I saw confusion, then annoyance. "Wow, really mature," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're so dramatic sometimes." I wasn't being dramatic. I was being honest. For months, I'd been fighting for something she no longer cared about. Late-night talks, romantic gestures, apologies for things I hadn't even done. None of it mattered. She had already checked out emotionally. I was just a placeholder until someone new made her feel the way I used to. I stood, grabbed my jacket from the chair, and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" she asked. I turned slightly. "You said you could replace me fast." "I'm just giving you a head start." The door closed behind me with a softer thud than I expected. Outside, the night was cold, but for the first time in months, the air felt clear. I walked without a destination, just away from her, from a noise in my head, from the version of me that begged to be chosen. The next few days passed in silence. She didn't call. Neither did I. I expected anger, guilt, some reaction, but all I felt was relief, as if I could finally breathe again. On the 4th day, her name appeared on my phone. A simple text. "So that's it. You're really done." I stared at it before replying. "You already were." No response after that. Just silence. But silence has a way of revealing the truth. Over the next week, I noticed the weight of anxiety easing, the sleepless nights fading, the constant strain of proving my worth to someone who didn't care. It all began to disappear. That's when it hit me. Claire hadn't just been cruel. She had been right in her own way. People can replace each other quickly, but they can't replace the version of you that loved them unconditionally. Once that version is gone, it's gone forever. A month later, she reached out again. By then, my life had begun to feel grounded, quiet, real. I had returned to the gym, reconnected with friends I'd neglected, and started writing again, the parts of myself I'd buried to keep her happy resurfacing. One evening, as I left work, my phone buzzed. Her name flashed. For a moment, I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. "Hey!" Her voice was soft, uncertain. "Can we talk?" I hesitated. "About what?" "About us. About everything," she said. I agreed, not from hope, but for closure. We met at the same cafe where our first date had been. She looked different, less confident, almost nervous. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You look good," she said, stirring her coffee. "So do you," I replied, though it wasn't entirely true. She looked tired, the kind of tired that comes from pretending. Silence hung between us until she spoke again. I didn't mean what I said that night, she began. I was angry, trying to get a reaction from you. You did? I said calmly. You got the one you didn't expect. Her lips pressed together. I know I hurt you. I shouldn't have said that. I thought you'd fight for me. I almost laughed. Claire, I fought for you every day for a year. You just never noticed. She looked down, regret finally crossing her face. I messed up, she whispered. I thought I wanted freedom, excitement, but I ended up empty. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. She leaned forward slightly. Is there someone else now? I shook my head. No, there doesn't have to be. She frowned. So, why are you acting like you don't care? Because I finally learned that caring doesn't mean staying, I said quietly. The words landed heavier than I expected. She blinked, then nodded slowly, understanding too late. I miss you, she said finally, and I hate that you're okay without me. It wasn't love she missed. It was control, the comfort of knowing I'd always be there. But that version of me no longer existed. I finished my coffee and stood. Take care of yourself, Claire. As I walked away, she called softly, Ryan? I paused, turned slightly. Do you ever think about what we could have been? I smiled faintly. Every day. But I'm starting to like what I'm becoming more. Outside, the air felt lighter. No anger, no bitterness, just acceptance. I had finally realized something most never do. Peace doesn't come from fixing things. It comes from walking away without looking back. Over the next weeks, I kept moving forward. I didn't block her, delete our photos, or rewrite history. I let it fade naturally, like old ink on paper. Once, she said she could replace me fast. Maybe she did, but I learned something deeper. Replacement only works when the person lost was forgettable. I wasn't. Months later, a mutual friend told me she had broken up with the guy she'd started seeing right after me. He treated her the way she had treated me. Life has a way of teaching lessons we refuse to learn. I didn't feel satisfaction, just quiet understanding. Losing someone isn't punishment. Sometimes it's protection. When I look back, I no longer hear her words as an insult. You know I can replace me fast, she said. And I had replied, then don't waste time. That was the moment I replaced her too, not with another person, but with peace.